Okay. Welcome, welcome. This is exciting. This is a very big deal. A trip like this is a very big deal. So there's some things I'll explain, kind of like frequently asked questions. I'll explain about some of the travel requirements and sort of like what's happening during this 21 days, what a day might look like, that kind of thing. And then I'll open it up for any questions that you guys might have. And your questions are helpful because other people are probably wondering the same thing, right? So know that like it's for a lot of people potentially a once in a lifetime, experience to get 21 days to go, you know, be gone for 21 days. But the thing is that a Panchakarma it takes a minimum of 21 days, and you can choose to stay longer. Some people do a month long Panchakarma. But there's no shortcutting the process. So that's why I kind of generally only accept people on the trip who can come for the whole 21 days, which is limiting. We're going to have less people because of that. But that way, your body's able to go through this whole process of a traditional panchakarma. And this is at Vaidyagrama Healing Village, which is in Coimbatore, which is in Tamil Nadu. It's kind of on the Tamil Nadu Kerala border, so it's pretty far south. This is the place where I've done the most of my study as well as Panchakarma experiences over the past, I don't know, it's probably been 15 years that I've been going there. So it's something that is a real pleasure to share. The Panchakarma process, it works. That's the thing about it, is it really works. So for me, it's like my insurance policy. I haven't had any serious illnesses in my life, but anytime something starts to go wrong, and this has probably happened 4 or 5 times over the past 15 years, anytime something starts to go wrong, I go there for the Panchakarma, and it has sorted out menstrual problems, like pretty serious allergies, as well as just kind of vata imbalances of different types. But the most recent trip was for the allergies, and it was profound how they went away. Because I was like debilitated once I moved to a new place for a year and a half, and then I did 21 days by Jagrama. I came home, and after the process, when you come home, you have 3 months of medicine. You can opt out, but it's kind of part of the treatment is that there's a rejuvenation process of about 3 months that follows the 21 days while you're there. So you'll come home with like a box of medicines that are prescribed specifically for you, and you'll continue to take those upon returning. And then I really feel like the process is going on in your body for a solid 6 months. It's kind of like a 6 month period of, Panchakarma is it's a very deep cleansing process. It's not only cleansing, it also depends on your age because the older we get, the less of a radical cleansing experience this will be, and the more of a sort of rejuvenation it will be. But in general, most bodies, the tubes and the pipes get junked up, and so everybody's getting cleansed to some degree. So, you arrive on day one and like basically the trip that I'm taking you on covers the 21 days where you have your own room, your own bathroom in there. All your meals are delivered to you in your room. And there's also community lunches on Wednesdays where we all eat at a big table together. And you have the option to also come into the like community dining hall that's within our space. So we will have for this trip like our own block. So it's like rooms that are in a square, and then the middle center is kind of open air, and you can be out there anytime you want to socialize with each other. And you can also be in your room and have a lot of alone time, and meditative time if you want. And so there's this 21 days that you'll be there, and we can talk about, once if you decide you want to come, we'll have a meeting in the fall in September, and then we'll go over like, if some of you might want to get together and travel together, and maybe have a couple days in Kerala, to do something cool before or after. Those kinds of things will happen, and you guys will kind of get in little groups probably, and those of you who want to do things like that. So the option to expand your trip at the beginning or at the end is totally there, but this 21 days is what this is my purpose in leading this group. And so the first kind of week or so is you're in it as soon as you set foot basically in that center, like you're on Panchakarma. And so your first day, I invite you to try to get there by noon. And most of the flights do get in the wee hours, like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., that kind of thing. And so you'll be able to get there probably by noon. And so everyone will be having basically like oil massage on that first day, just to kind of like ground you down. And doctors will do an intake with you, get all your information, et cetera, in that first day or two. And then that first week is pretty, that can be the most intense part because you're adjusting, you have jet lag, and there's all sorts of stuff going on during that week. Um, and that's when a lot of the kind of cleansing starts. And then that middle week, you're usually kind of still in it, in kind of an intensive process of some sort. And it's going to be different for everyone. Like I can't say this is what, treatment you're going to have because it really depends on what your situation is, what's going on in your body, your constitution, your age, etc. And you have control over it if you want to say, I don't want to do this or I want to do this, and like they will accommodate you, and if there's any concerns that you have about the treatment, about communication, that sort of thing, that's part of why we're there, myself and my husband Rich. And so we can help you with communication, language barriers, things like that. But everyone's speaking really good English. And last year we had a couple folks who weren't from the States as well, who English was not their first language. So that's also welcome. So that second week, you're still kind of in it. And then that last week is like the rejuvenation period where a lot of the intensity will give way to sort of more just like status quo, right? And kind of building back strength and kind of getting you ready to travel again. That's why you want this whole 21 days is because you really need that last week or so to get ready to travel. So on any given day during this 21 days, you're going to have a treatment every day. It could be an oil massage. It could be all sorts of different substances they might use topically on your body. They might do specific things for your eyes or your sinuses, your ears, etc. Um, there are treatments such as enemas. Some people get those. Some people do have a purgative where you drink something gross and then poop a bunch for a day. Those kind of things are usually happening in that first 7 to 10 day period. And then your food is going to be very specific. It's all cooked there on the campus. There's a kitchen where all the food for all the patients is made. And they'll accommodate special diets for sure, but um, there's not a ton of dairy. There is wheat, but it's not like bad wheat. So people tend to not have a problem with it, but there's always alternatives if you need it. And the food is like, it's very specific to what you're doing with your treatment. And so that, it's coming 3 times a day. There's actually too much food. So this isn't like a starvation thing. There's actually they're bringing you like fruit snacks and sweet teas and like there's plenty of food, going on during the process, but it's all very simple and sort of specific to your body and where you are in your treatment. And there's also a lot of activities going on at the center. It's my job to make sure you're not overdoing it, honestly, because there's classes with the doctors every day from 2:30 until about 6 o'clock, like a 45-minute to an hour long satsang. So there's a board that goes up every morning that tells who's teaching what. So if you're like a, Ayurveda enthusiast or you just want to learn more, you can definitely be engaging and learning from the doctors in that way. And there's going to be times, hopefully, and days where you'll just like chill, like allow the treatment to do its work in your body and not be like socializing the whole time. But it is a social place. It can be. Basically, once you leave your room, there's going to be our group around in the square, and then you can go out and there's like people from all over the world. So like it's not a lonely thing necessarily. And we respect your alone time as well. Like if you're in your room, we might check on you, make sure you're okay, but like you can totally rest as much as you want to, need to. And there's also a lot of pujas going on. So there's like ceremonies for there's a Dhanvantri temple, and Dhanvantri is like the patron of saint of Ayurvedic physicians. And so there's a temple on the property, and that's going on like all the time. And there's so many holidays, so there's always some kind of like big puja, with some priest who's visiting from somewhere doing this cool thing. So culturally, I think a lot of people feel like I'm going to go all the way to India, but then I'm just going to be like in my Panchakarma for 21 days. But actually, you will get a lot of culture inside the center. It's not a spa, it's not like you're at the Hilton. I mean, this is a very specific environment, and there's a lot of spirituality happening in the place, and it's part of the treatment. It's like your doctor might prescribe that you go to said puja on Tuesday. And it's been really cool to watch people connect each in their own way, with that energy of the healing that's available in these different ways. So on any given day, there is sunrise and sunset chanting. And so you can, if you want, apply yourself to learning some of the chants and like take part in that, every morning and every evening. It's around like 6:30 a.m. and p.m. So that gives you like so there's structure to the day in that there's always things going on. And then we meet as a group after dinner every night. So it'll be Rich, myself, and those of you who are participating on the trip. Again, you don't have to come. Everybody missed at least one, because you just want to go to bed. But we're there for an hour in the evenings, and it's a time to just like check in with everybody, for us to see how you're doing, for you to see how each other are doing. It's like an open sharing space. And we also are covering, like I'll talk about the medicines, people have questions generally about what's going on, the treatments, the food. We talked a lot about the food each night, like what was served that day. And Rich is also a Zen Buddhist practitioner. He has a lot of experience like leading groups and talking about sort of behavioral change, I could say, like change, how we cope with change. And it's create the work that he's sharing also creates a really intentional container for you to be with yourself while you're going through this process. And all sorts of different things can come through, mental spaces, emotional spaces, physical spaces, like everything's happening. And so we're also in these evening meetings providing like a context of sort of practical or practice based ways to observe what's going on with yourself and sort of like work through it, so that it's not just we don't want you to just be having a physical experience in your body. We also want you to feel transformed. And that's really like what we're about. And I feel like people who are drawn to this trip are people who are looking for transformation on a deep level. And we get people who are sick, who know they need or would like to experience the Panchakarma as part of their treatment protocol, for their own health. And if you're on medication, you have a Western diagnosis, that's totally fair game. These doctors have decades of experience working with like just about anything. So you can, if you have medications that you need to bring with you, you bring them. Anything you think you need, you bring it with you. And if you do have, like a thyroid problem or something, like something diagnosed that's going on in your body, or you have RA, or this is a great companion to Western care. So it's not mutually exclusive. I don't want you to think there's a question I get a lot of the time. People think if they're under the care of a Western team or Western physician that this can't fit in, but it absolutely can, and can be a really good complement to what you have been working on already with your health. So there's no like person who isn't welcome here. And there's, as I said, people from all over the world, people with all sorts of different realities going on in their bodies. And like I would say the doctors have kind of seen it all before at this point, right? So the days, as I said, it's social and we meet pretty much every day as a group. So like we're available, Rich and I are available in that way. And I think that's the reason a lot of people want to come with a group and not go on their own is to be, in a container, so we're whole, you have each other, and the group bonds very deeply because it's also a small group. There probably won't be more than 12 of you. And so that was really nice too. We all fit in one van together, and we do take one excursion. This is a question I get a lot. Like people want to, see Coimbatore, right? So we do on the second to last day when you're in that rejuvenation period, we all load up in a van and we go, it's about an hour into the city. So we'll go into the city. I'll take you to a couple of my favorite shopping spots so you can get gifts or, things for yourself, etc. Um, and you get to like be, out and about in it. And then we had also, I would say about half of the people last year ended up booking hotels together in a city where in Kerala and staying for like, I think they stayed 2, 3 days and did some like touristy stuff, you know. So you can do it on the front end, you can do it on the back end of the trip, but you need to be this so some nuts and bolts here about the travel. You need to be at the center kind of by the afternoon time, preferably by noon, and that will be good because then we'll feed you lunch pretty soon upon your arrival on the 19th. So everyone's treatment will begin on January 19th. And you count 21 days, and that gets you to the 9th. So you'll have your room until lunchtime on the 9th of February. And that's the 21 days. Those of you who want to, if you want to extend your treatment, you want to arrive early or stay late, you can. The cost is usually, and it depends on the change in the currency. So it's hard to say like the exact, amount, but give or take like $10, $20. It's usually somewhere around $170 for an extra day, and that will include treatment. So if you're in the hospital, you're getting a treatment. There are also, however, some houses available for folks who don't want to be on treatment but who still want to be around. And then you can get cars and go visit and do temples and things like that in the area. It's a really cool part of India. There's all sorts of cool things you can do. And that tends to be less expensive. I think it might be somewhere around $100 because you're not getting treatments. Um, and you'll have your take-home medicines with you and so that's an option. I know one person stayed for another week. She moved over to a house and just hung out and like had a chance to, you still get the food, they still deliver you your meals, but she was able to kind of like go around and see some stuff but still be at the center. So that's an option, and we can like flesh that stuff out at our meeting together in the fall. And I'll also put you guys to, you'll all meet each other and we'll exchange emails, and everyone will figure out where everybody lives and what airport you're going to fly out of, and all the kind of group travel arrangements will start to come together in September. Because I'm from New England, a lot of the people who follow me all these years are kind of New Englanders. We had many people coming out of the West Coast, I mean the East Coast, a lot of Boston folks, a couple of New York folks, but then we had people from the Midwest, California, and like the South. So you never know like who's gonna link up with you. And most of the travel routes into India are there's kind of two ways to do it. One is to go through Europe, so you fly out from whatever port you want into Europe. Usually there's a fairly lengthy layover. So you could be in like Heathrow in London. You could be in Frankfurt. You could be in Norway. I mean, every year that's like which airline is offering the deal changes. So I've pretty much been to like every European country on the way. And so it's like about 8 hours into say France, and then you usually have 4 to 6 hours there. And then it's another, let's say, 8 hours into a port in India, out of Europe into India. And hopefully you can do it in just 2 legs and not 3. That's what I would recommend is that you look for flights where there's 2 legs. So there's 2 ports that you will probably fly into. One is Coimbatore, and the other is Kochi with a K or a C, depending who you talk to. Kochi is about a 2.5 hour drive, and if you go to, I will send a follow-up email for everyone who's here, and you guys will get I'll send the travel link from the Vajragrama website where all this is kind of written down in a way that you can see it all. But the Kochi is about 2.5 hours drive, and we'll book ground transportation together. It costs about, I mean, if you're with a group, it'll cost like $20. I think the car itself is somewhere around $60 each way from Vaidagrama to Kochi, that 2.5 hour drive. So if you're alone coming in, we'll send a car for you. You know, they'll be standing there in Kochi Airport with your name. And Rich and I are also already going to be there, and we will start 2 weeks before we leave. We'll start a WhatsApp group where all of you are on it, and so you can be also communicating with each other while you're traveling. And we will go over all this in more in depth, later, but just to give you an idea. And so Rich and I are also like there making sure your car went out, and that sort of thing, so that, somebody on the ground is watching for you. Several people are watching for your arrival, right, into Kochi, and then it's 2.5 hours. Into Coimbatore is less than an hour. It's about 50 minutes, 50, which is very convenient. It's cheap too. It's like $20. However, you'll find a lot less flights landing in Coimbatore and a lot more flights going into Kochi, in Kerala. And Kochi's a really cool city, really beautiful seaside, awesome place. So, the other travel route into either Coimbatore or Kochi would be to go through the Middle East, like UAE, United Arab Emirates. So you'd be in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, um, or Doha. I've flown through all three of those cities, and it's a pretty long flight, from the port in the US. It could be like 12, 14 hours to get there. And then you have a layover, a couple hours in the airport, usually around 4 hours. And then it's just a 4 hour flight into India. I like that. That's the way I like to do it. I think with things in the Middle East being unstable, some might not choose to do that. I definitely wouldn't, you don't have to leave the airport. You can come in a couple hours and then you have that short flight into India. And then it's usually you can get a direct flight right into Coimbatore or Kochi. Some people, they do fly into Bombay or Bangalore and they get an airport hotel. Some people like that. They just get into Bangalore or some other port in India that's easy, and they get a hotel right in the airport right there. So you like don't even leave the airport. It's that kind of hotel. And then you can like go to bed and sleep, and then get up and do the domestic flight the next day into Coimbatore. So we had a couple people do that, and that worked really well. And then they had that night of rest, right, in the airport hotel. Bangalore is like a huge, amazing airport. That's easy to do that. It's like a really nice hotel. So that's an option. And then we did have some people book a hotel in Kochi. So they got all the way to Kochi and then they spent a night in the hotel. And then we sent the car for them the next morning. So that's another option. And then all you have to do that morning is get up and get in the car at 9 a.m. and you'll be at the center by 11:30. So there's all these different ways it could happen. I usually try to buy the tickets about 3 or 4 months in advance. It'll be easier. You'll get better deals that way. So we will meet in September. You can meet all each other. And if you want to wait until then to buy your tickets based on what other people are doing and make plans together, you can. Um, but keep in mind, because for those of you who are thinking, can I do this trip? Like, what's the timing of it going to look like? Keep in mind that to arrive on the 19th, you have to leave on the 17th. India is about 10 hours ahead. So you lose 10 hours. You lose like half a day. But on the way home, say if you leave on the 9th, you will also get home on the 9th. So you make up time on the way back. But keep in mind, you're going to be leaving probably on the evening of the 17th if you're going to just fly all the way and we pick you up at the airport. Okay. So it's like a 2 night deal to get there. Once you're there, you have a shower in your room. All your purified water is delivered to you. It's actually herbal water that's cooked in this big vat is delivered to you. So all the water that you're going to drink once you get to the center is purified, boiled, and herbalized. And you'll have like a big thermos flask always, and they just refill it as the day goes by. And I have never seen anyone have any sort of food poisoning or illness or anything like that in all these years. I've never seen anyone get sick at the center. And once you hit the airport, or if you're going to spend a night in a hotel, just drink bottled. Very easy to get bottled water in the airport and whatnot. So you just drink bottled water until you get to the center, and then all your food and your water will be provided the whole time. Even when we go to town on that day together, we don't do outside food. We still come back and have our meal. We schedule it so that you can still have your meals at the center. But of all the people who kind of traveled after this last year, no one had any problems. Everyone had a great time and felt good. Um, and um, you'll have plenty of baggage requirements, so you can bring all sorts of things. We'll go over the packing list together as a group. So, as part of this trip, we'll have this group meeting together in September where we'll go over travel arrangements basically and all meet each other and figure out who's where and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll meet again. It will probably be like on the Christmas break, like in between Christmas and New Year's. We'll probably have a meeting sometime in that week. And that will be like, we'll get that WhatsApp group set up. We'll make sure everything's copacetic for everybody. And we will make sure that the packing list that we go over, the packing list at that time, and then the WhatsApp group will kind of open up. And then people, you can communicate with each other that way. And that's how if you need to reach Rich or I while you're traveling or while you're in Coimbatore or something like that, you can reach us that way. Um, in terms of the deadline for this trip, because this is the busiest time of year at the center. So for us to get this block with the 12 rooms, I have to finalize everything at the end of August. So those who are interested in coming, I need your $1,000 deposit by the end of August. I said the 29th because then that gives me like 2 days to get to the bank and like do the transfer. And I send all that money over there and that secures your rooms. Basically, that is non-refundable. However, if you want to come on a future trip or you want to transfer your spot in our block over to someone else, you can. But once I transfer that money over to them, I can't get it back. Right. But like we had a person who wasn't able to come last year, last minute. She's going to come this year. Right. So that you will do this again. I think we'll probably do this again. So that if you have an emergency or something like that, that is an option to transfer it or to come at another time. But we need that deposit by the 29th of August in order to get your room secured in that block. And then after that point, like through the fall, sometimes there are changes, like somebody might have signed up and then they turn it over to someone else. Sometimes I let a couple extra people in. That way, if someone ends up not being able to come, there's a couple extra people, so there's can still be some little changes happening in those last couple months. Um, and what you'll find is if you go to the web page for this, I'm going to do a quick screen share, right? This on my Ayurvedic Living Institute, you go to the Panchakarma in India page. This is where the link to make your deposit is. So you can just click any of these buttons to make that deposit when you decide you're ready. And then if you can see kind of again more review of kind of what we already talked about what's included, what's not included. If anyone does want to save $800 and being in a double accommodation, both people will save $800. So if you want to bring a friend or come with your partner or parent, that kind of thing. This here will take you to the Videogramma website so you can see pictures of the rooms. and the temple, and I'll just get an idea, that sort of thing. As you see, what's not included is the airfare. You're responsible for your own airfare. You have to pay for the ground transportation, but we will, as I said, book that for you and keep an eye on that. You are going to need a visa, costs about $85, and you can get it online, and we'll go over all that in September. It takes less than a month to get to you, so there's plenty of time on that. If you're not American, you probably want to double check into, like Canadians have been having a hard time. So check if you're not American before you pay your deposit, please check the visa requirements for your country going into India. And then as you see, you have the option to, there is not internet in your room, and that is on purpose, right? However, internet is available. If you want internet in your room, you can. I discourage this, but if there's someone at home that needs access to you, and you want to have your phone work or your device work, it's an option. You just have to pay for it. It's not expensive. It's probably like $20. But there are hotspots that are on 3 times a day for an hour. So it's like 7 to 8 in the morning, an hour after lunch, and an hour at dinner time, so that you can, get on the phone and FaceTime your family, and like you can certainly be in connection and in contact with your people back home. And if you need to work a little bit, again, we discourage that, but I know there's a lot of people who that's the only way they can get here is if they're able to check in on work, twice a week or whatever. So you want to do it in your room, they'll give you internet in your room, or you can do it at the hotspot. And many people do have to check in with things. So it's completely connected, right? And the internet fees that we talk about are quite nominal. Laundry is going to cost, probably like $1 per item, something like that. And they'll come every day, they'll come and ask you if you have any laundry. And when we'll go over our checklist for packing, and you'll know what to bring. And then your take-home medicines are usually somewhere around $100, $150 maybe for 3 months worth of medicine. And then here's the travel information for Vidyagramma on this link. So the airports and the transfers and how long everything takes. And then here's the rest of the buttons. Okay. So once I get your deposit, as long as I get that by the end of August, that's fine. The rest, if you want to pay in a payment plan, we'll give you the link, and then it's up to you to just like hit the button 3 more times and pay, about $1,300 again, these 3 times. So if you want to spread your payment out, as long as you're paid in full by the end of the year. And again, I'm just going to go to the bank and we're going to transfer the money over to them on the 31st. So here's the rest of the buttons, right? But the only thing you need to worry about for now is just the deposit. And that extra $30 is just the credit card fee, right? So this page is a good place that kind of has just all the information on it, the cancellation information, all that sort of stuff, just so you know that that's all there. And if anybody's, wants to come with you or something like that, you can send them to that page. So I think I made it through everything I wanted to cover, the things that I hear the most questions about. Do you guys have any questions? Sophie, is that a hand? Yeah. Yep.
I have 3 questions. Are you going to be doing the Panchakarma too, alongside with us, or are you?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. Rich and I are just like fully there to support you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not in treatment at that time. I'm probably taking medicines. I mean, my doctor's there. I'll meet with them and whatnot, but we're not on Panchakarma while we're supporting you.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. And then what are the grounds like? Is there nature to like walk around?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all the ghee and the yogurt and all that kind of stuff comes from the cows that live there at the center, and you can go visit the cows, which is really cute and fun. And so there's a herd of cattle that go through the center every day. In the morning, they go out to pasture, and then around 3, they come back. So if you're a cow fan, you can totally hang with the cows. Every Friday, there's a cow puja. which is to sort of pay homage to the cows that are providing the ghee, the yogurt, the milk, etc. for the center. So they'll bring a different cow come every time, and we like decorate the cow and feed it bananas, and you can feed the cow. There's a peacocks who roam the property. So depending on where your room is, it might be like there all the time, right near you. There's a lot of birds, different, all sorts of different birds. And one of the doctors actually does a lecture on with a PowerPoint of all the different birds that are on the property. So you'll feel like you're in nature. Yes. There's an herb walk. You can do a guided tour of the gardens where they're growing the medicines. So there's a lot of native plants and trees and all that sort of thing. And everything is like very much open air. So if you go to the Vitagrama site and look at the pictures, you can get an idea of it. The only thing is that during a Panchakarma, being in direct sunlight is generally contraindicated. So you can take walks, but you're encouraged to stay under the walkway and not like go off into the countryside. It is a farming, agricultural part of India. So we're surrounded by farms. There's like a big coconut plantation sort of on one side. You'll feel there's certain parts of the center where our rooms are especially there's this like you can walk right to the end of the center and look out, and it's like the jungle, which is pretty amazing. So you'll, I think, feel that's what I love about this center is that it's not in a city. We're not like in a hospital, you know, like you've got like a porch with screens and the air can be moving through. Um, and then you can walk anytime you want as long as you stay under the walkways. And it's, I mean, you can walk for an hour, you know, and like move around and see all sorts of like, mostly birds, cows. There are a few cats who are hanging. And then
Dance.
yes, yeah. So they're growing a lot of the food that we eat there, and also the herbs. And so that's fun to go on the herb walk and check it out. Yeah. They also have
What's
dogs now. They have like a few dogs that roam the perimeter of the property just to keep other stray dogs away. So people also will go and visit with the hang out with the dogs from time to time.
what's the climate like at that time?
Another good question. So it will be hot. It will be, but this is the only time of year probably I would bring folks who are new to India because it's not that hot. Like the nights are cool. So it'll still be like 65, 67 at night. And everyone has a ceiling fan. All the rooms have a ceiling fan. And if you want like a different kind of fan, you know, some people bring a little, you know, the one that goes right next to your bed, you can. But the ceiling fan's usually cruising, and then I find it pretty cool in the evenings. And the rooms are also all designed according to Vastu, which is like Indian feng shui. And so everything is also designed in such a way to keep it naturally cool. And everything is made of mud brick. So all the mud is from that land itself. Like nothing was brought from outside in order to build this entire center. So all those mud bricks naturally hold the cool air. And you'll have there's like bamboo screens that go down to block the sun, but in the daytime, it'll be high 80s. It could get like up to 90, 91 Fahrenheit while we're there, like in, you know, like that afternoon time, it can be
Mhm.
hot. So people are walking
Much like
around
my
and like,
summer.
what's that?
Much like my summer here in Maryland.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
it's
but maybe less humid. It'll be less humid
oh, that's great.
at this time of year. Yeah, that's what's great about this season is it's not very humid, but you might still need a little jacket in the morning, you
Mhm.
know, when you go to the chanting and that sort of thing. So it's pretty forgiving, the weather at that time. Yeah, but warm. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. And one last question. Is there a way to pay by different methods so that we're not charged the processing fee on the credit card?
Yeah, we can work that out for sure. If you want to like send a check.
Hmm.
So like we could do that. A few people did that last year for sure. Yeah. So if you want to pay the total without, because it's $150 of credit card fees when it's all said and done. So we can totally work that out. Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah,
good. Thank
just
you so
email
much.
us. Just email us.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to send a check or use because PayPal
Yeah, they
will
take
take
a
the
fee.
same. Yeah. So
Venmo, maybe.
yeah, that could work. I
Sounds
can't do too much of that because I'll get in trouble eventually.
yeah.
But check is the preferred. So I can give you an address, you can mail a check. I think that's the easiest way if you want to save on that, save those fees for sure. Yep. So any questions about that kind of thing or anything, you can email us the hello at ayurvedicliving.institute. So if you have more questions after this call, which is probably going to happen, I expect there'll be more questions, right? Um, the thing that I would suggest is that I have this info session pretty early, so you still have a couple months before you really have to like pull the trigger on anything. So I think what I generally recommend is to like just like sit with it. Talk to your people about it. Sit with it for I would say like 2 weeks before you um start shooting tons of questions. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then because I think a lot of it does have to do with like the dates. Do they work for you? And then the other people in your life who will be affected by you being gone, you have to figure all that stuff out. I feel like that's the biggest thing. And then I always like to poke around and look at flights just to see like what it might look like, what time of day it might leave, that kind of thing, without actually buying anything. And I do that in what an incognito window. So when you go on your web browser, it's just a little tip, right? Go up into the left-hand corner, and there's a drop down that will give you a incognito window, so that they won't remember that you're searching. Because I have seen it charge you more the second time that you go back and look for that thing, which is just ridiculous. So I always use an incognito window when I'm searching now, which you can just Google that, like how to do that if you're confused. But that's good when you're searching. You can also set up a Google flight alert, and then they'll send you every time the price changes. Once you know what your route is, they'll send you that. And after you watch it for a month or so, you'll start to get a feel for like what we're looking at for how much the flight's going to cost. I would expect the flights. I don't know. We hear horror stories right now about how expensive air travel is and whatever, but so I haven't looked recently, but I would expect that your travel expenses would be around $1,000, maybe $1,200 for the round trip ticket. And then, hotels in India are usually less than $100 a night if you want a nice hotel. So if you want to add on and have a night to sleep before you move on or whatever, it might cost another $100, but it's generally pretty affordable. Yeah. Thanks for those questions. Those are good ones. Yeah. Robin?
You. Okay. I'm definitely coming. So
I
I've
know.
already
I
sent
know.
in um my um down payment. And my question is, do a lot of people use a travel agent? Because it seems to be a thing of the past.
Yeah.
We do have AAA, and I just don't know whether to trust somebody at AAA with something that's India. I don't know. Anybody have experience with that in your group that you went with?
That's a good question. Did anybody use a travel agent? Usually I find that happens when somebody's like friend is a travel agent. Um,
Yeah.
but I have AAA. I have actually used them to help with travel before and found it really helpful. If you
Okay.
don't love like surfing the internet, let them do it for you.
Yeah.
You know? Be
And
like,
find the best prices.
exactly. Be like, what can you find through Europe? What can you find through the Middle East? Like, and
Hmm.
have them do that part for sure. There's no harm in doing that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're not like alone trying to figure it out. Um, and it could be, I don't know how you feel about waiting. I'm like you, I like to get everything done really early, but if you want to wait till September, then you might find there's some folks who are going out of the same port as you. What
Yeah.
happens is you're gonna end up on the same plane with a couple people from this trip regardless, because there's only one flight out of Boston or New York or whatever every night. Or a
Right.
lot of people ended up like getting on in Doha or Dubai and that finding each other on the plane. So we had
Oh, neat.
yeah, we
Okay.
had like 6 or 7 people all arrive together in a van that actually didn't start together.
Oh, wow.
But because there's only so many flights into Kochi and Coimbatore on that day, there's going to be somebody else on that flight with you probably. So if you don't want to wait till September to buy the ticket, um, it's likely that someone else will be with you
O-
anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's probably the thing I'm most anxious about is the travel.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So in that way, like maybe do all your research over the summer, and
Mm,
then
mm.
it'll be like mid-September probably we'll get together, and you can just see because we did have a lot of people actually like most people want to not travel alone, so we had a lot of people book together and meet up in Boston or some
I like
people.
that idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much more fun to do it with people. It's and those all
Yeah.
those people are like still besties now and they still like all meet on Zoom
Oh,
together once a month and yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah, yes.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
All
Anxious, a
right.
little anxious, but mostly
Sure.
excited.
Yeah. I think it's correct to be anxious. I mean, it's a life-changing thing, so it's a big deal. It's a big deal, but
Mm,
you'll be in really good company, no doubt. Yeah.
yay.
Yeah. I'm glad you're
Super.
coming. All right.
Thanks.
Okay. So, yeah, just, and anything's coming up, just email us. And any of those of you who are watching this later, same hello@ayurvedicliving.institute if there's any question, but I'll send out the date for the September meeting soon, to those who we know are already coming. So you can get that time on your calendar.
So you have quite a few that have already signed up for sure?
We have 4.
Oh, good.
Or for sure, yeah. Yep. Yep. So hopefully after this info session, we'll see more who's out there. We've had a lot of people reach out about it, so it's just a matter of
Hmm.
seeing who can make it work.
Yeah.
But I expect we'll have at least probably 10, maybe 12. Yeah.
That's a nice number. Yeah.
It's perfect number. It's perfect because you get to know everybody. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Okay. Looking
Well,
forward to
thanks
it.
for doing this. Yes.
Yep. Thanks for being here. And those of you who are watching later, thank you for for your interest in this trip. And if this year is not the right time, if don't push it. If it's not the right time will come. And the opportunity will be there at the right time for you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Take care.